Let's pray for Chris and for all of us. Jesus, I thank you for Chris. I thank you that he has prayed and prepared for tonight and asked for your words, and that you have a special message for each one of us here tonight on intentional dating. God, I pray that we be able to get beyond maybe some of the awkward, or maybe enjoy some of the awkward. We'd be able to get beyond just silly and actually hear what you think of dating and what you have intended, not just for dating, but for our lives, God, you want to do in us. So God, I pray that you would be at work in us tonight, that your Spirit would be, we know you're here. Would you make us aware of that tonight as Chris speaks, and open us to that in Jesus' name, amen.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about dating. Yeah, come on. We're talking about dating tonight. So straight away, some of you are like, this is going to be super awkward. I'm tuned out. I'm not into this. I'm not going to even think about this. No. Tune in. It's going to be good. Some of you are like, my daddy said I can't date till I'm 35. You're laughing because it's true. And I just want to say a prelude to tonight's talk. If your parents have said, like, you can't date till you're 16 or you're 18 or you're married, some of you are like, how does that work? Then we want to say as a youth ministry, honor your parents, okay? Honor your parents. While you're living under their home, living under their rules, they pay for everything for you. Obey them. So just a little prelude to tonight. I want to just ask a question. We're gonna get the awkwardness out from the get-go, right? Because this is a fun subject. How many people have ever talked about dating in church before? Oh, so we have a few people, like just a few people. Okay, cool. I want to just hear. You got to give me some noise, okay? I want to just hear some noise. Give me some noise if you're single in the room. Woo. Okay. Give me some noise if you've ever dated before, okay? You've ever dated before? Give me some noise if you're currently in a relationship. Woo! Awesome. Okay, that's good to know. That's here. Some of you are sitting next to your friend and you're like, you dated someone before? You're like 7. So tonight I'm going to talk about a few things about dating, which I think are really important. Really important. When I was growing up, dating wasn't really spoken about. I grew up in a home where my mom and dad loved Jesus, and my dad told me respect women, and that was pretty much the conversation. And I didn't know what that meant for dating. Now, if some of you are grade 7, you're like, hey, this is like a few years off for me. I'm not ready. This is important for your future. And if you're maybe in grade 9, 10, 11, 12, and you've started that process of dating and there's some things going on there, this is important for you. And for those of you who are like, I'm going to be single my entire life, this is also important for you. Because this is the reality. Either you will date someone or the people around you will date people. It's an experience and thing that will happen in your life regardless whether you will date or not. So that's why we're talking about it, and it's going to be good. Growing up, when I was a toddler, there was a nursery rhyme that went around back home, and I don't know if it's the same here, so I'm just going to start to sing it, and if you know it, join in with me. Chris and Steph sitting in a tree, K-I. Woo! First comes, then comes, then comes. Hey, okay, stop. Some of you are like getting into that. Some of you are getting into that. You were like, I love this song. It's my jam. See, from the ages of 0 to 5, we as human beings learn the most things. Did you know that? From 0 to 5 years old, you learn the most things. So whatever you consume from 0 to 5 years old is actually the most you will ever consume of new things in your life. Isn't that crazy? From 0 to 5 years old, just show of hands, whose parents sat them down and had a relationship conversation? Anyone? From the ages of 0 to 5. Like, you're sitting there, 2 years old, you've just pooped yourself, and mom's like, this is the conversation we're going to have about your future spouse. No, none of you had that conversation, because that'd be weird. But here's the thing. As infants, we have these little things that happen, these little riddles, like that song we just sung, that we go, hey, I have this kind of expectation of what life's meant to be like, and this is what I'm learning. And actually, that little song, there's like Kissing. Okay, first there's some kissing, right? There's love, marriage. The song doesn't say that. It just says a baby appears. Love, marriage, baby. And as you can tell in that song, there are some unfulfilled bits in that song, right? Some of you just blurted it out. Okay, there's some unfulfilled things there. And I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever went like, oh, I love this person. Marry me, make a baby. Like, that's not how it works. Like, that's not how it works. There's some unfulfilled relationship progression. And so tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about that relationship progression and what I believe to be a really key progressions of relationships. We're going to talk about a few lies and myths around dating, because there are, especially in the church. There's a few lies and myths about dating, and these are important. If you're grade 7, these are important to know for when you're growing up in your future. So don't be like, it's not important for me. It will be important. And as I said, if your parents are like, you're not you're not dating anyone until you're like 18, then obey your parents, okay? I'm saying that from the get-go. And it's not just obeying your parents. Here's the thing. The way you honor your parents in how you date people, that is something that your future spouse is going to look at and go, how do they treat their parents? Because the chances are that's probably going to be the way they're going to treat me. The way you treat your family ends up the way you treat your then family, okay? So that's important, good to know. And I hope today this will help. I just want to just quickly run through what I think is a good relationship progression, okay? Something that's really important. It is not love, marriage, baby, okay? That's not how it works. You're all like, yeah, that's not the steps. That's not how it works. So I'm going to start with that. Then we're going to look at a biblical concept of dating, okay? And then we're going to look at a few other things. So, are you ready? She's like, I am ready. She's like, Jesus, show me my husband right now. So, here we go. First thing on the relationship status, the relationship thing, it's obvious. It's singleness, okay? When I asked you and said, who's single in the room? And you're like, woohoo! Singleness is the first place to start. And this is what I want to say to you. Listen, this is really important. Singleness is probably the most important time of your life. And this is why. This is the time when God reveals to you who you are. He often in this time gives you purpose. He reveals to you that you're his son or his daughter. And this is a really important time in your life for discovering who am I and who has God made me to be. So singleness is really important. And I want to encourage you that even in Scripture, there's moments where people say, like, being single is great. It actually says that in the Bible. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. I just want to say, this is a good season of your life, being single. It is a good season. Don't just rush out of it. It's actually a really good season because you're able to grow as a person listening to who God is calling you to be. Second thing, and so what we're going to be talking about for the majority tonight, is intentional dating. Okay? I'm not talking about dating. I'm not talking about going on dates. I'm talking about intentional dating. This is the second stage. Singleness, intentional dating. Third thing, engagement. Okay, you've done the dating thing. You're with somebody. It's like, we're going to get married. Yeah, engagement. That's the next thing. After engagement, oh, you guys are so good. Then comes a baby. No, marriage is the next thing. And then what's the next thing? Love. 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 Now, some of you are sitting there and going, Chris, how can you say love is after marriage? Because, well, you have to love someone to marry them, so that must be like way earlier in the chain. Let me just read to you 1 Corinthians 13, okay? Let me just read you this. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. No record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love requires sacrifice. Like Jesus sacrificed for us. Just a show of hands. Hands up if you've ever got up at 3 a.m. because the person lying next to you said, I want water. Yeah. Okay, couple people. Chances are not. Hands up. Hands up if you've ever gone to bed, you've been in bed for 2 whole hours and you're sleeping, you're part of the deep sleep cycle, and somebody wakes you up and says, I think someone's in the house, can you please go check every single door of the house? Okay, there are moments in your life, and this is what I'm trying to get at. After marriage, I've said love, because love requires uncompromised sacrifice. And that's something that we find in the marriage covenant. Actually, you can love someone fairly well as you date them, and you can love someone fairly well as you get engaged to them, but when you're married to someone, love changes. And if you have a small group leader or you have anyone around you that's married, they're nodding their head right now, and they're like, yes, that's true. Love changes. So I threw love in there after marriage. After that, I have children, possibly, or just reproducing that love. So being able to share that love with other people, because the reality is some people don't have children, and that's okay. And then the last thing I've said is repeat. And some of you are like, you get single again? Like, what the heck? And this is the thing, actually, if you in your life get married at that point, you don't just stop working on who you are as a person. You don't just give up and be like, I'm married now, life's over. Okay, that's not how it works. Actually, in marriage, you should pursue growing as a person. You should intentionally date your spouse. You should be doing these things. And so I've said repeat, start again. But tonight we're talking about dating, because that's the age and stage and phase that most of you guys are in or are about to be in. And I want to talk about a couple things on biblical dating. And some of the things I would say are lies about dating that sometimes that we believe or that we hold, or sometimes we've heard from other people. And so I'm going to run through. I've got 10 lies here, and a couple of them I'm going to expand a bit further on. So this is it. Lie number 1 about dating. Here we go. If I go on a date, it will lead to marriage. That is lie number 1. Okay? If I go on a date, it will lead to marriage. That is not true. It may lead to marriage, but that is not true. Lie number 2, dating is harmless. Okay, sometimes we get into a way of life that we just think, I can just date anyone, it's harmless, it's fine, I'm not really doing anything that bad, so it's harmless. And I just want to tell you, dating can sometimes be devastating. Dating can actually sometimes be really hurtful. You need to be careful about who you allow into your heart and who you allow to have say in your life. Proverbs 14:12 says this, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. And I can think of some of the people in my life, and I'll tell you a few stories later on, who I end up dating, that if I was with them now, that would not have been good. 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Actually, the people that you put in your life, and in some of the most intimate and vulnerable places in your life, like someone maybe if you're dating them, or thinking about engagement, marriage, all those things, bad company corrupts good character. So you got to be careful about the people that you date. Lie number 3. I will never get over the heartbreak of losing someone. I've heard this before, where people will date someone and then they break up, and oh my goodness, it's heartbreak. And you'll never get over that. That's a lie. You will get over it. Lie number 4. If I go on a date, I must give them something in return. And what I mean by that is that some people can get in their head that if I'm going on a date with someone, or I've went on 3 dates with someone, or if I've went on 5 dates with someone, then I've got to give something in return. And you can fill in the blank with whatever grade you're in to whatever that thing is. But I want to tell you, as some of you go, ugh. But I want to tell you, that's not true. That is not true. That is a lie. Lie number 5, this is a great one. There is only one person on the planet for me. So, she is confident. That is also not true. There is not just one person that's like, if you miss them, you miss it. Like, that's not how it works. But there is some things in looking for someone who you want to date that we'll talk about later that are important. Lie number 6, I won't be lonely when I'm dating or in a committed relationship. Sometimes this can be thought of that if I just date someone, like if I have somebody in my life that I'm dating, then I won't be lonely anymore. And I just want to tell you that's not true. That's not true. And we're going to look a little bit about how do we work on ourselves and how do we, like the whole thing from singleness being a really important time of your life. It's true. That actually finding someone doesn't just make you not lonely anymore. So that's a lie. Number 7, it's not okay to be single forever. I hear this so often in the church, and I hear this so often even in youth talk, that like if someone's single or they've never dated or they've never had anyone, then that's bad. And I want to say that actually that's not true. Paul speaks of this. He says in 1 Corinthians 7, verse 8, he says, to the unmarried and to the widows, I say that it is good for them to remain single as I am. He's like, stay single. Okay. Why? 1 Corinthians 7:32, the unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. There's something here talking about actually singleness can be really good because your whole focus and attention can be on the Lord. And Paul talks about this and says actually living a life of singleness can actually be really, really good. But there's a lie believing that if I'm just single my whole life, then that's wrong. And that's not true. A lot of people do end up getting married to find somebody that they want to be with, but some people stay single their whole lives. One of the people that influenced me most in ministry was a guy in the UK. And he's now in his 60s, and he's been running youth stuff in the UK for years. And God has used him in the most powerful ways, like crazy ways, where he's had thousands and thousands of youth come to know Jesus through his ministry. And he's single. He decided, I'm staying single, and that's what I believe God's calling me to. Number 8, lie number 8, dating makes me better than others. See, some of you are like, no, and then some of you are like, because there's this pride of going, I'm dating someone, therefore I'm better than other people. I just want to say that's also not true. That is a lie. And we're going to focus on these 2 lies in the last lies number 9 and number 10. Lie number 9, this is one of the big ones, and we're going to take a little bit of time to focus on this. Dating is biblical. Dating is biblical. I want to say to you, that's a lie. Really interesting. The Bible never talks about dating. Dating or courtship, as it used to be called, you know, when you would like, courtship was funny because that involved parents, and parents would basically like arrange some people to meet together, and then parents would just stand there and watch. Could you imagine? Could you imagine, your mom and dad lead you to go and meet Sally or Jimmy or whoever it is, and they're like, we're going to go on a date, all 6 of us. And then they just stand there, and they're like, are you enjoying yourself? Are you having a good time? Is this really good? It would be kind of weird and awkward. But dating and courtship was only something that actually came around a few hundred years ago. It's a man-made structure. And it's something that the Bible doesn't talk about because it never happened in the Bible. Because actually the marriages and relationships that happened in the Bible were arranged. Which we can think, oh my goodness, that's horrific. But actually, that's what a lot of the world still do, is arranged marriages. But here's the thing. I think the Bible tells us direction on the type of company that we should keep, the boundaries we should set in relationships, and the character of people that we should think of in our future spouse. One of the reasons why we're talking about this tonight, and it's based out of a verse from Hosea 4:6 that just says this, my people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. The message says this, the people are ruined because they do not know what's right or true. And I think so often in your world, you have no idea what's right or true with dating because the boundaries don't exist. And nobody talks about it. And actually, you're like, I need dating advice, but I don't know if I can talk to my parents, so I'll just talk to my friends, who my friends have zero experience of dating and know nothing, because they don't. And they're like, I think you should just do this because I heard once in a YouTube video that that's like what girls like or what guys like. And you're like, okay, I'll try that. Going to people that actually have no experience or do not know. But the Bible says that, hey, sometimes that we can actually destroy ourselves from a lack of knowledge or understanding. And it's good to go to people who have experience. It's good to go and have conversations with people who've been there before. Matthew 22 says this. It talks about we're to love God with everything we have. The first thing, greatest commandment, we're to love God with everything we have. And secondly, we're to love others like we love ourselves. But did you catch that last bit? Like ourselves. And I think so often we can go into dating and relationships and we actually don't love ourselves. We don't actually know how to be content in ourselves. And then we bring that into a relationship with someone who also is not content, and it gets really messy. And actually, the Bible talks about actually your priority, if you follow Jesus, if you love Jesus, is to love God first and to love other people as you love yourself. And I think when we talk about that whole thing of singleness, it's a great time of your life to learn what does it look like to love myself well. And that doesn't mean being prideful or arrogant or being so full of yourself, but actually caring for yourself and loving yourself. Jesus said this. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second, to love your neighbor as yourself. Guys, we were created to be in relationship with people. Like God in his very nature is in relationship. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We were created as people who are to be in relationship with different people. Sometimes that comes to dating, and sometimes that can be friendship. But we were created for relationships. And dating is one way in which we get to know another person on a slightly deeper level, and it's also a personal choice. You choose if you want to date or not. But if you are practicing or thinking of practicing or dating, and they may offer you the job or they may not. That's kind of how that job works. However, if you're going for the job of, say, an executive CEO of a company, big time job, do you know how many interviews you would have? Like a ton of interviews. You would have interview 1, then 2, then maybe 3, then maybe 4, and then maybe 5. And there'd be multiple levels of getting to know that person more. And I think some of you treat dating like interview 1. Like you jump straight in and you don't even know the person. Like you barely know their beliefs, you barely know their last name. You just jump in there. You're like, interview 1, we're dating. Facebook official, Instagram official, whatever you want to call it, it's online and it's real. And I want to just challenge you a little bit further and say maybe dating should be interview 2 or interview 3. That actually, as you jump into dating, or as you think, I think I'm going to start dating somebody, that actually the process of that is not just going, hey, you want to be my boyfriend or girlfriend? Awesome, cool, we're together forever. That's not how it works. And I want to challenge you to do everything you do, but doing it with the intention of giving God glory. It says this in 1 Corinthians 10:31. Paul's writing. He's writing to Corinthians. They are basically a bunch of people who've been doing a lot of weird sexual stuff. There's your context of 1 Corinthians. It's a bit weird. But he says this, so whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. I want to ask you some questions. These are self-assessment questions. These can be questions if you've ever dated someone before, if you're dating someone now, if you're thinking about dating, or for just the future, if you're like, I'm going to date in the future. I want to ask you some questions. These are good self-assessment questions that are really helpful in going, am I dating someone that's going to bring glory to God? Here's a good one. So the first one, just a simple question. Is the person I'm dating or want to date, do they bring glory to God? In the things that they do, the things they say, the life they live, the way they talk about other people, does it bring God glory? It's a good question. Guys, here's a good one for you. Does she speak about you and her friends and other people in a way that brings God glory? Like in the way that the girl you're pursuing, does she speak the right way in terms of speaking well of other people? It's a good thing to assess. Girls, if he started talking to you and getting up in your DMs when he was with someone else? Oh. Do you think he will actually change? And is the way he is living going to bring God glory? See, some things are really good to ask questions. This is interview one, people. Interview one is asking the questions and going, is this someone that will give God glory? To those of you who are dating someone, here's a question for you. The way you are dating, you and your other person, what the heck? Don't do that to my brain. Does the way you live bring God glory? These are good questions to ask. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because as a teenager, I blew it. Like, I messed up. I dated people who I should never have dated. I pushed boundaries that I never knew I had to set because there was nothing said to me. And that actually impacted me for years. And the reason why I'm saying it to you is because I want you to live lives that bring God glory and that are good. And that the people that you're with point you to Jesus. See, Jesus has made your life for purpose. You've been made with purpose, for purpose, and there's a purpose to your life. And if you open up your hearts, your mind, and souls to somebody who will not encourage God's purposes in your life, it will crush you. I'm being real. It will crush you. But here's the thing. Dating is not wrong if God is in the middle. This last little bit we're going to talk about, I've just called it redemption of Jesus. Redemption of Jesus. Looking back at some of these lies that I mentioned, let's think what's just underneath them. What's underneath some of those lies that we sometimes may think, or our friends may think about dating? Sometimes it's, I need somebody so I have purpose. It's maybe, I need someone to help me overcome heartbreak. I won't be lonely anymore. I don't want to fail. Or I want someone to always be there for me. I want someone to spend time with. Some of these underlying things with dating. But do you see that in those things that you try to fulfill, maybe with dating, is already fulfilled in Jesus? And this is not a Jesus is my boyfriend, Jesus is my girlfriend sermon. Okay? But actually, the stuff that you are looking to fulfill your life with can be and is filled by Jesus. And so, some of you who may be wrapping your own identity in dating and in the person you're dating and not Jesus, Jesus is saying to you today, I come first. I come first and can fully satisfy those needs in your life. And for some of you, you may be sitting here going, I've already pushed the boundaries too far. Like, I've dated multiple people, and in those dating relationships, I've pushed boundaries like way too far. And I feel like gross. Like, I feel like I cannot speak to anyone about it, and I feel like I'm really like broken, and I feel like I'm guilty, and I feel like I'm not deserving of actually being with somebody who loves Jesus. That can be a lie that we sometimes eat up and keep. And I just want to tell you that you're never too far for Jesus. Thinking of the future, going, I know what I want in looking for a spouse or a dating person or whoever it is at the time. Spouse is husband or wife. So, in conclusion, I just want to talk about the three things that we've covered. And I think this is really important as you think about dating. First thing, if you're going to date, I want you to be focused on intentional dating. Everyone say intentional with me? Intentional. What does that mean? It means I'm dating someone with purpose. I'm dating with the end in mind. You know, if you've been out with someone for a couple dates, I want to just define this. Going on a date with someone is not dating them. Okay? A date is an event at a time and place. Dating someone is a commitment. Okay? Going on a date with someone is not a commitment. It is an event. And some of you maybe have been going on a few dates with people, and you've had like dinners, or you've had coffees, or whatever it's been, and you realize, like, I don't think I should be with this person. Like, this is really not great. This is not going to work out. Tell them. Just say, hey, you're a great person, but I just don't think we'll work. Because my first ever girl that I dated when I was 15 years old, which I still think was way too young to date, back at the time, we dated for 7 months. I only liked her for 7 weeks. I didn't know how to break up with her. I didn't know how to talk to her because I thought it was wrong. I thought it was wrong to stop it because she loved Jesus, so this probably is going to be fine. And actually, it took me 7 months to have the conversation going, I just don't think this is working anymore. And actually, I pushed it so far in that time to say, like, it actually dragged it out more and made it worse. It was like, this is a really hard conversation. Be intentional. Say intentional. Intentional. Number 2, you were made for purpose. Tell me, purpose. You were made for purpose. This means that God has a plan for your life. God has made you with purpose. And if you're in a relationship with someone who's dragging you away from God's purpose, it's not a good relationship to be in. Be intentionally seeking after someone who is pointing to Jesus. And third thing, God has given you his Spirit so that the desires that you have can bring him glory. Philippians 2:13-15 says this: God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases him. Do everything without complaining and arguing, so that no one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights in a world of crooked and perverse people. Guys, I want your dating lives to shine. Like, I want people to look at your lives and go, man, they love Jesus, and it points to Jesus and gives God glory. See, the reason today in which we are speaking about dating is so that you can get a little perspective on the goodness and the goodness of God and the proper way to date. Because sometimes when we get perspective, it actually points us to boundaries, and boundaries are biblical. They really are. In the way that we set boundaries in relationships. And I want to say this, and this may just be specific to somebody who's dating at the moment, but girlfriends, you do not get wife privileges. Boyfriends, you do not get husband privileges. Hear me with that. Girlfriends, you do not get wife privileges, and boyfriends, you do not get husband privileges. The way that your relationship looks is dating. It ain't yet marriage. And so we're going to go into our small groups, have a conversation about dating. I want you to be really honest. If you're someone who's like, I really don't know much about this, and this is a bit of a weird subject, be real with your small group leader. What I want to encourage you is that at this age and stage of your life, some of you may have started dating really young, and some of you may not be dating until you're 50. And you know what? God has a purpose and a plan for you. And in this moment, especially if you're single, this is the time of your life where God is really telling you who you are, so listen to him. So that when you decide, I want to date someone, or I think I'm ready to date, then you're actually going in knowing, I know who I am because of who God says I am. I'm not being defined by this person, but I'm defined by God. Side note, some of the most amazing people that I've ever seen in relationships have been the most content people single. And really, some of the most amazing people who I've seen, the way they love their spouse, the way they love their husband, their wife, whoever it is, have been, when I've known them when they were single, were just so content because they knew who God said they were. So, I'm going to pray, small groups, talking about dating. Okay, let's pray. Jesus, thank you for this topic of dating. Thank you that even though it's not in the Bible, you give us good ways to live. You give us good ways to think of people. You give us advice in terms of how we should spend good company with good people, how we should be seeking after somebody who brings you glory and helps us bring you glory. And so, God, I pray as we think of dating, that it's not just something that we just do, and it's harmless, and it's just for fun, and it's all about me. That's not what dating is about. Dating is intentional. And God, that does not mean that if we're dating someone, we just have to marry them. But God, sometimes things don't work, but help us to be able to be intentional with how we date. Dating people that bring glory to you, and that we can bring glory. Because God, I want to pray over this room, just for those that have maybe messed up and who have pushed boundaries too far in dating. I just want to pray, God, that they know that you are close to them, and there's nothing that's too far for your love. And God, we can come back to you time and time again. And God, I just want to pray for those who are like, this has nothing to do with me. I'm 7, and dating has nothing to do with me. God, would you just concrete some of this stuff in their brains so that when the time comes, when they start thinking about dating, they start thinking about, going out with people. God, would you remind them of the truths of your word? I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Awesome. Go to your small groups.